Hi, you guys. I'm going to be addressing two very important topics in this video. Number one, why am I qualified to say that the Jesus that I have been communicating with through my men, through Brent Spiner and Terence Jenkins, is the real Jesus? And number two, why do I know that the rapture is very likely, 95% chance, going to happen by, let's say, the year 2035 or 2036? So first, before I can go on to the rapture topic, I need to show why I'm qualified to comment about this. Okay? My reason for feeling certain that the rapture is going to happen by 2036, more than likely, is based on what Jesus told me in my communications with him through Brent Spiner and Terence Jenkins. But I want to address something that some of the Jesuits have been complaining, and I think in the courtroom, because there's a legal case going on with my family and my men. They are claiming that that I read from a script, which I haven't written, that my men wrote for me, and therefore what I say in my videos are not my own thoughts and words. Okay, sometimes I do read from a script, like if Brent Spiner has written an email, and Jesus likes it when I read Brent's letters to me, especially if it's covering an important event that I need to let the world know about, like our recent event where we took out Melania Trump, called Pube Gate. Other times that I will read from a script is if I'm reading from something that I wrote myself and where I've made a blog about it at my website, and I'm going to be doing that today. And the reason I do that is sometimes I delve into topics that are kind of complicated, and I want to make sure I stay on topic and I cover all the important points that I put a lot of thought into. Because when I write, I put a lot of thought into my blogs, because I've done some research. And so I'm going to be doing that today because I'm covering a pretty important topic, which is the date of the rapture, which I think is going to be real soon. And now Jesus doesn't want to set dates for the rapture. He's against that. But there's nothing wrong with knowing that it could happen like within the next 30 years. Jesus, I'm sure, would not object to that, because that would let you know that the tribulation is really, really close and you guys need to be ready. Okay, that's important. He would want you to be ready. He doesn't want you to sell your house and go live out in the wilderness or something, waiting for the Lord to come back. I mean, that's really getting off balance. No, he doesn't want you to do that. But he does want you to be ready by following my example. I am the example that he wants the world to follow. Okay, so let me first of all get back to the first point. Why am I qualified to tell you? I mean, why should you believe me when I tell you that the Jesus that I've been communing with is not a troll, that he's not something that my men made up, that he's not a troll or some figment of my men's imagination, and that they're trolling me. I would not be fooled by a fake Jesus now. The reason for that is because I am practically a Bible scholar. Now, the test that I took the other day, which I made videos about already, was not that hard of a test. So I said, and some Jesuits were saying, well, that wasn't that hard of a test. So it's not that big of a deal that you got 15 on that stupid test because it wasn't that hard. So I said, you know what, I need to take a tougher test. I'm sure there's a tougher test out there. So I searched online and I found a Biola University test. I trust Biola University to construct a good Bible test. U.S. News and World Report ranks Biola as a first-tier national university. It's out in Los Angeles area. On its selective list of universities with best undergraduate teaching, the Princeton Review includes Biola on its list of best Western colleges. It's ranked like number 135, and this includes schools like Princeton, Harvard, Columbia, and those schools. So I took another test for Bible knowledge by Biola because the Jesus test I took the other day was just too easy. But yet, even though it's too easy, I do believe that the average non-Christian who would take that test would flunk because it was kind of tricky. So I deliberately looked for a more challenging test. I will admit that on this test, I had to guess on some of the questions. But despite the fact that I did guess, I think I guessed on about 2 or 3 of them. They were intelligent guesses, though. I only missed one. And my score, they said I have high biblical literacy and I am in the minority. And you might say, why is this such a big deal? Because I'm trying to prove that I'm qualified to know if I'm dealing with the real Jesus, as I quote him in Bible for Tribulation Saints. So instead of giving you I'm going to just refer you to my website because I've actually created a page about this. So just go to my website and you can see all the screenshots I took of all the Bible tests. I took some other Bible tests, and just for fun, I toyed with some other tests, and my scores were high. These other tests were taken mostly by Christians, but even comparing myself with other believers, other Christians, I did better than most of the Christians who took the test. Though I do believe that knowing the Bible is only part of what you need to be a good disciple of Jesus. But with my above average Bible knowledge, it would be hard for a fake Jesus to fool me. And at this page that I created, I included links to some of the other pretty challenging tests I took and it compared the results. I have the screenshot of my results, comparing my results to other Christians who took the test. Warning, if you plan to take these tests, do not look at my results on this page or you will be cheating. Just take the test. Don't look at my results until you finish taking the test. I have the links to the test on my webpage. I am certain that most non-Christians who take these tests would totally fail. But I don't trust the ones I took at this site, this other site, which was a Christian and Missionary Alliance site, I think, as much as the Biola University test, because they seem too focused on the King James Version and the New American Standard Version. So if you were raised on other versions like the New Living or the NIV, you may not score as well. I was raised on the King James, and these tests were a little bit too nitpicky about exact wording from whatever translation they were using, which I think was the New American Standard or the American Standard, and seemed skewed towards certain translations of the Bible. My current Bible study is from my parallel Bible, which has the NIV, NASB, King James, and New Living translations. Jesus Christ states that the parallel Bible that I have is his favorite Bible. My men bought it for me as a 2012 Christmas present. My main focus in Bible study for the past year has been my own Bible for Tribulation Saints, which I consider an addition to the biblical canon. I find that Satan tries to get me to forget what Jesus has said to me, so I need to read Bible for Tribulation Saints to be reminded. And the people behind the testing site where I took all these tests are Christian and Missionary Alliance. And I come from a Baptist background mainly, but I've kind of evolved into my own denomination now. And I would say that I'm a blend between Dallas Theological Seminary, Chafer Theological Seminary, where Dr. Andy Woods is the president, and Church of Gale with my brilliant husband, Brent Spiner, as pastor. By the way, if Brent Spiner took that Biola University test, I wouldn't be surprised if he'd get a perfect score. And probably perfect score on all these other tests too. The reason I say that is because when Brent became a Christian in 2012, he started reading the Bible from cover to cover like I did, and he has a photographic memory, unlike me. My memory is about average. He's got a photographic memory, so he'd probably score perfect score all through all these tests. In fact, at Dallas Theological Seminary, they say he's been getting the highest scores on all their tests of any student they've ever had. And he's been complaining to me that Dallas Theological Seminary is too easy for him. It's because he's got a photographic memory. Plus, he's a genius like me. We're both geniuses, both Brent and I. Brent and I have the same IQ, he told me. And I'm the smartest woman on the planet. So anyways, getting off the subject. Anyways, I did pretty respectably on their Bible tests. Note of interest. Billy Graham was Christian and Missionary Alliance from 1933 to 1937, preaching at the Tampa Gospel Tabernacle of the Christian and Missionary Alliance. Anyways, check out this page. I took a test on the second coming, and I scored 91%, whereas the other Christians who took the test got 72%. I took a test on false prophets in the Bible. I scored 90%. Other Christians scored, I think it was 83%. Yeah, 53%. So I did really good on that one. Prophecies of Messiah, I scored 90%, and the other Christians, I think they got about 75%. This is a Christian site, so the non-Christians are not taking these tests. I guarantee you, if non-Christians were taking these tests, they'd be lucky to get 10%, because I can tell that most people are Bible blockheads. On the Beast and False Prophet, I scored 100%, and the other Christians who took the test, 90%. On the Church and Prophecy, actually, I took the test, but I can tell by the way they set the test up that the Christian and Missionary Alliance apparently believe that the church is in the tribulation, which I don't believe. But anyways, we're not going to get off on a tangent here. So I took this test, but nevertheless, they used Bible verses. I got I got 80%, and they got 67%. So I'm doing better than the Christians. The Book of Proverbs Fools test, I got 100%, and they got 47. That was the average was 47% for the other Christians. Apparently, I know a lot about fools. Yeah, the Book of Proverbs Friends, I got 90%, and the rest of them got 63%. So as you can see, even among Christians, I am way above average in my Bible knowledge, which makes me qualified to have some spiritual discernment and knowing whether the Jesus that I'm dealing with is a fake. I got to admit something. When Jesus first came into my life in 2012, I was testing him because I wanted to make sure I was not dealing with a fake. And even back in 2012, I started reading the Bible from cover to cover in my 20s. That would have been the 1980s. I've read it from cover to cover hundreds of times. I've said that many times, and now you can tell I'm telling the truth because that's why I do so good on all these Bible tests. My personal opinion, for somebody to score as highly as I have on all of these tests, you would either have to have been a Bible and theology major at a Christian university or a seminary student. That would be my guess. Or somebody who has had a personal Bible study, studying the Bible from cover to cover, and you've gone through it many times. That would be the criteria, because if you hadn't done that, you would not get the score like I got. So, I did go to Bible college, but I was a missions major. I guarantee you, even though my sister graduated summa cum laude with Bachelor of Science in Nursing and has also had straight A's with her master's degree in public health, she doesn't give a flip about Jesus. In fact, she hates Jesus because she doesn't think it's fair. She thinks Jesus gave me more brains than her. And Jesus, this is what my men tell me, and I believe it's accurate. I can tell because she wrote a lying statement that she gave to my mother that got me taken off to a psych ward. And, why would you say, how do you know she did that? Because I saw the Baker Act document, and I saw the statement that my mother submitted to the judge. It was written in master's degree language, like a nurse or somebody wrote it with a lot of clinical language in it. My mother does not speak English that well. So somebody else wrote it for her, and my men found out it was my sister. I thought, why would my sister do that? And they said, we've done reads on her, and she is so jealous of you, Gail. She is just so jealous, and she's pissed at Jesus that I've got all these hot men, and she's actually gone into what they call lesbianism, because she's so proud and so jealous that I got all these hot men and that she knows they wouldn't, she thinks they would never want her. Actually, when I knew my sister graduated with summa cum laude, I was so proud of her. And I can't tell you how disappointed I am that with all of her accomplishments, she's turned out to be such a sorry human being. I can't tell you how disappointed I am. I know my men are telling me the truth about her because I'm not a stupid person. I have genius emotional IQ. She's jealous of me. And she's BFF with Loree McBride, even though she knows that Loree meets with Satan. Yes, Loree meets with Satan. Loree is Satan's right-hand person. So my sister hates Jesus because she's BFF with the person who's Satan's right-hand person. You got to hate Jesus to do that. And so it's just so sad. If my sister took that test, I don't think she would do well because she doesn't read the Bible for devotions. She doesn't give a flip about Jesus, so why would she read the Bible? She would, despite the fact that she's a brain at her, so-called as a nurse, she would not do well on a Bible test because she's not interested in the Bible. She'd probably flunk unless she cheated. And even my ex-husband, David Schuler, who's a Bible college graduate and majored in missions, even I think he would do worse than me on that test. He would do better than my sister because he studied, because he's a Bible college graduate. But my guess is he would probably score, my guess, maybe on the Biola test, if he didn't cheat, he'd probably score 13, 14, 15 maybe, if he's lucky. Yeah, I'm serious. See, because when he studies the Bible, he doesn't study it to try to learn the Bible objectively. He studies the Bible so that he can win his arguments with people who are against his King James Bible only position. In other words, he studies the Bible to make himself look good, not because he's trying to grow as a believer. And so therefore he would ignore the parts that don't promote his biases. And because that Biola test covered all of the Bible, not just the parts that make the King James Bible look good, he would have flunked on certain questions. He wouldn't have done as good as me. So, anyways, so as you can see, I am basically a Bible scholar. The only area where I'm not a Bible scholar is that I did not study the original Hebrew, Greek, and Aramaic. And to make up for that, that's why I listen to Dr. Andy Woods a lot, because he has studied the Hebrew, Greek, and Aramaic, and he always brings out what the original languages say when he teaches Bible at his church to help us to really understand deeply the Bible texts that he puts into his messages. And so to make up for the fact that I have not studied the original languages, I listen to teachers like Dr. Andy Woods. And another thing that I could do, is use a lexicon. But with such a good Bible teacher like Dr. Andy Woods, I get my lexicon from him. You say, well, if you haven't studied the original languages, then how do you know he's reliable? Well, because I have the parallel here. And by comparing the translations between the New Living, the NIV, the King James, the New American Standard, I get a pretty good feel for what the original languages said. And then after having read the parallel, because I used to read the King James from cover to cover. Now I'm reading the New Living because it's a totally different translation from the King James, and I wanted a different angle on some of these verses. So I've been reading the New Living, mostly the New Living. And if there's a passage in the New Living that I'm not sure they translated accurately, I'll cross-reference to the other, like the NIV or the King James, and try to see what I think the original language is intended. And sometimes I will actually go use a lexicon and look up, go deep into the original languages to try to figure out. But that's how I study the Bible now. And then I'm finding, based on my own personal Bible study, using that method I just described, that Dr. Andy Woods seems to be the best Bible teacher out there. And I'm fascinated with Bible prophecy because it's part of my research for my Silver Skies novel. So anyways, to me, to know whether Jesus is legit, you need to be really up on Bible prophecy. because we are in the last days. And, you would have to know what the false Christ is going to be like, because so you wouldn't be fooled. So, and I'm very up on that stuff. In fact, I no longer follow Dr. Peter Ruckman. That was back in my King James Bible only days. But I did read his entire Revelation commentary. And now I follow Dr. Andy Woods, who I think is more accurate than Peter Ruckman. And you get a really good Bible education. And I've ordered some of Dr. Andy Woods' books, like The Coming Kingdom, or and I have another book of his. So, and I've been studying him and watching him. So yeah, I'm pretty good, pretty authoritative on Jesus and the Bible. So, and like I said, I tested Jesus when he first showed up, because one time he was joking with me. He said, "I want you to wear a triangle-shaped tinfoil hat over the top of your head." I said, "What?" I said, "Jesus, you wouldn't want me to wear a triangle. That's a satanic symbol." And then Jesus said, "Gail, I'm just kidding." He likes to joke with me. He said, "No, Gail." I said, "Oh," I said, "so you're kidding about me wearing a tinfoil hat?" I said, "Jesus, I don't want to wear a tinfoil hat in my videos. People are going to say I need to go to the loony bin." And then you know how Jesus answered me? Jesus said, "Well, they won't think you're crazy when the rapture happens." You might say, why did he say that? Now let's go into the second part of this video. Since this is a long video, you say, so Jesus was kidding about me wearing a triangle. This is all in Bible for Tribulation Saints. But he was not kidding about me wearing a tinfoil hat. He really did want me to wear a tinfoil hat on my videos until I got on Seroquel, when I no longer needed it, because Seroquel is superior technology to the tinfoil hat to block the Jesuit ability to control my brain cell conversations, which they do have, by the way. You wouldn't believe how many times I catch my brain slipping because of all these signals coming in from the satellites. They use the satellites to do that. Yeah, it's terrible. In fact, that's the reason we had to take out Melania, because Melania had the satellites programmed to kill me and my men. They were programmed to just wipe out all vagina butts, and all the vagina butts were based on my vagina. So we had to take them all out. You said, this stuff is crazy. Folks, look, I'm going to tell you something. Any of you that aren't a Bible blockhead, haven't you noticed when you read the book of Revelation, a lot of crazy things are happening in Revelation? And you know what a lot of Bible scholars do? And I don't call these Bible scholars, I think they're fraud Bible scholars. They allegorize the text. But the book of Revelation is probably the most misunderstood book in the entire Bible. That's why I like to listen to Andy Woods. So, but if you study the Bible believing that it means what it says, unless it states it's a symbol or an allegory, then there's going to be a lot of wild stuff happening in the tribulation. You're going to see strange looking creatures that are like half human, half animal, attacking people. Strange beasts and creatures coming out of the pit, from the bottomless pit. And locusts with like scorpions and stings in their tails. This is all going to happen in the tribulation. So if you don't know the Bible, then yeah, you're going to think I'm crazy. But I'm telling you, I'm a Bible scholar. And this is the real Jesus. I've been testing him out. I even threw some tough Bible questions out at him. Like I said, Jesus, can you tell me when the rapture is going to happen? Kind of like testing him, because I know the real Jesus would not really want to tell me. And you know how Jesus answered me? He says, Gail, you know I don't rapture and tell. He knew I was just testing him to see if he would be like Jesus, because I knew Jesus would never want to give a date. And I was right. And that's how he answered me. He says, Gail, you know I don't rapture and tell. He said, I plead the fifth. I said, that sounds like Jesus. That sounds like Jesus. Yeah. And so in 2012, I tested him because I wanted to be sure I was dealing with the real Jesus, and he passed the test. They said, well, not only that, other things happened. Like he would do miraculous stuff. And he would come into my apartment, and I would see things. And I live here by myself, and I would see things get moved around. And no, I don't sleepwalk, folks. Like one time, there was a gallon of water in my trash. I said, how did this happen? Oh yeah, a gallon of water was in my kitchen garbage can. And Jesus said, "Oh yeah, yeah, Gail. I forgot to tell you, but me and Zach Knight had a tussle in your apartment, and he was planning on getting that gallon of water and crashing it over your head in your sleep and trying to like kill you in your sleep." This is when Zach was bad. And he said, so what I did is I left that gallon of water in your trash just so you'd know that I saved you, Gail. He said I beat up Zach Knight and kicked him out of your apartment. You said, how did he get in your apartment? Your door is locked. Jesuits have what they call transporter technology. It's like Star Trek, where he can just fizzle himself in. They even have invisibility shields where they can cover their bodies, and he could be in here and I wouldn't even see him. He'd have an invisibility shield around me. Ludmila Putin did that to me and caused me to trip. 2013. I still have the injuries from that, but I got injuries. I healed really well though. Jesus actually blocked the fall. He said if he didn't do that, I would have broken some bones. So this is how I know he's real, man. How did the gallon of water get in my trash bag? I had another thing that happened in my apartment. I've had things moving around in my apartment where I know where it was before I went to bed, and I woke up and it was different. And Jesus said, "Well, Gail," he said, "Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I was in there. I was beating up Zach Knight. He's been protecting me a lot. He used to protect me a lot from Zach Knight. So that's why I know he's real. How does all this stuff happen in my apartment? Oh, don't say, oh, you're schizophrenic and you just forgot that you did it. No, don't you pull that. Actually, I took a schizophrenia test online too. It said I was 0 for schizophrenia. I answered it honestly too. They did ask some questions that I thought might finish me. Like they asked me questions like, do you believe that somebody's controlling your mind? Did you say somewhat, never? I put somewhat. Another question was, do you believe that people are after you? And for that one, I answered somewhat, because I don't believe that everybody's after me. But I know that the Jesuits are after me, and I know Loree McBride's after me. And then the questions asked, do you feel like you're the only person who has this problem? That's probably what saved me, because I thought, no, I don't think I'm the only person who has this problem, So it's like, yeah, So I took a test and screened for schizophrenia, and I got a 0. I answered it honestly too, folks, what I really believe. Anyways, so now we're going to go on to the rapture thing. This is kind of fascinating. Fascinating because now I think I've convinced some of you. I'm not going to convince everybody, because haters going to hate, like Jesus says. No matter what you say, haters are going to hate. I believe the rapture is going to happen by 2035. Let me tell you why. And this is something you might say, oh, big deal. I don't need to worry about that stupid rapture. I don't even think there's going to be a rapture. Well, Jesus did say that when the rapture happens, all you folks that call me crazy won't think I'm crazy then. So maybe you should start worrying about it, okay? Let me tell you why I think it's going to happen by 2035. And I'm qualified to talk about this because I've been dealing with the real Jesus, like I just explained. First of all, if you study the Bible believingly, you will be a dispensationalist. And I've got a page for that underneath this video. You can check that out. I know there's a lot of rapture movies made, and they make the rapture seem really melodramatic. And I'm not sure it's going to be portrayed like you see in all these movies, but there will be a rapture. You say, what's the rapture? The rapture happens when the church vanishes. They all go up in the air to meet Christ in the air, and Christ will show up in the clouds, and everybody who's a born-again Christian their body will fly up and be transformed into their resurrection body, and they will meet Christ in the air and go up to heaven to be with him. The dead in Christ will rise first, then we which are alive and remain will join them next. And it's all going to happen in the twinkling of an eye, really fast. Like boom, boom. The dead will go up first, boom, then we go up. Probably going to happen like in 1 second. And then when that happens, you're going to probably see airplane crashes, car crashes, all sorts of weird stuff happening all over the world when all these Christians just vanish. That's the rapture. Now, there are some Christians that believe that the rapture doesn't happen, that we're getting the rapture confused with the second coming. And this is where you need to listen to Dr. Andy Woods, okay? They're wrong. Jesus himself told me that there's going to be a rapture, okay? Dr. Ruckman believed the blood would be left behind because the blood's corrupt. And some people think maybe the clothes will be left behind. I'm of the view, unless Jesus wants to make a dramatic statement, I mean, he might, that it won't be necessary for the saints who are raptured to leave anything behind, because Jesus is going to transform everything. The blood, the clothes, the bodies will be transformed into our new resurrection bodies when the rapture happens. However, like I said, I think there's going to be car crashes, airplane crashes, because the Christians manning those vehicles are just going to vanish. And the Bible makes it clear that only believers will see Jesus when he comes in the cloud for his church during the rapture. So because the unbelievers won't see Jesus in the clouds coming for his church, it'll make it easy for Satan to explain it away as a UFO invasion or something like that. He's going to come up with some elaborate excuse for why why all these people just disappeared. Dr. Andy Woods has a really good message called 1 Second After the Rapture, and I have it embedded on the page that I've created about this underneath this video. I also believe that the rapture is going to happen in the spring because of Song of Solomon 2:10 through 13, which says that the Christ, the bridegroom, will come for his bride in the spring. Read Song of Solomon 2:10 through 13. Jesus, let me tell you why I believe that the rapture is going to happen probably within the next 20 years. Jesus promised that Brent and I would get married on earth. And even though I call Brent my husband, we're not legally married yet. So unless Brent and I married before this spring, I doubt the rapture is going to be this year. Because Brent and I have to get married first. And once the rapture happens, we're not going to be on earth. We're going to be gone. We're going to go up. So the rapture is not going to happen this year. Because Jesus promised that Brent and I would be married on earth. So that's got to happen first before the rapture happens. He also promised that we would defeat the Jesuits. So that also has to happen before the rapture happens. So I know the rapture is not going to happen this year unless I end up marrying Brent this year or we defeat the Jesuits this year. Okay? So once I'm married to Brent and that prophecy is fulfilled, which Jesus told us in Bible for Tribulation Saints, I've got it there, and the Jesuits are defeated, then every spring I'm going to be looking up, thinking it could be any day now. Nevertheless, I live each day as if I was before the judgment seat of Christ, which is what's going to happen to all the raptured saints, by the way. That's the first thing they're going to be going through is the judgment seat of Christ. That judgment is not for unbelievers. And I believe that judgment seat is mentioned in Corinthians. It's because I'm actually kind of like before the judgment seat of Christ right now because I meet with Jesus all the time. And he lets me know if I'm on my path. It's kind of like I'm having a judgment seat of Christ every time I talk with Jesus because he mainly talks to me either because I need encouragement or I'm off my path and he needs to correct me. So you might say, it must be great to deal with Jesus because he gives you so much help and advice. Yes, it is. You might say, well, what makes you think you're special? Why doesn't he do it for us too? You're so stuck up. You're so proud. You think you're his favorite and he doesn't talk to us too. Well, Jesus isn't going to waste his time talking to you. You know why? Because you won't listen to him. So, and if you don't give a flip about honoring him, why should he waste his time talking to you? Secondly, I can tell you from personal, you might say, well, not all of us are like that. Well, there are other reasons you might choose. I'm his favorite for all sorts of reasons. Secondly, I can tell you from personal experience that being this close to Jesus brings on a very strong satanic attack. The devil has been attacking me and my men directly. I mean, and it's gotten life-threatening. This world does not love God. So when you side with Jesus, you get a lot of persecution. Just do a search on my name on the internet and you'll see what me as Jesus Christ's favorite, what I have to deal with. And I can tell you that if not for Jesus, Satan would have caused my physical death by now with this horrible yeast infection he's given me, or I'd be homeless. Many of the men on my marriage list have already been murdered by Satan's Jesuits, like Robin Williams. Jim Carrey was murdered in 2012 in a space battle we had with the Jesuits. What you're seeing is a Jim Carrey automaton. Hassan Soleimani, I believe, is in heaven, even though he was a Muslim. I think he was like a Muslim Christian, but I believe he's in heaven. Those were all murdered by Satan's Jesuits. Melania Trump murdered Hassan Soleimani, and she was a Jesuit. So Jesus, knowing how important I am in his plan, he had to intervene to keep me alive. Me and my men, we're heroes for Jesus. That's why he meets with us. We are very important in his plan. And we've paid a price for being this close to Jesus. But Jesus knew he could use us, and that's why he meets with us. I personally believe that I am adding to the biblical canon, and that me and my men will be very important to help Jesus get a following now, during the tribulation, and during the future 1,000-year reign. And if you check my site, I have pictures, charts of how the Bible prophetic timeline is going to work out in the future. It's the pre-tribulation, premillennial view, which is the correct view, you amillennialists out there. The Bible scholars know what I talk about when I say amillennialists. Have you noticed Satan is so obsessed with me? Have you noticed that Satan's right-hand person, Loree McBride, is the #1 reason I can't marry my husband, Brent Spiner, right now? That's because Satan's obsessed with me, because I'm Jesus's favorite. Satan has actually stolen the man God chose to be my soulmate, Brent Spiner, because he's so obsessed with destroying me because I am Jesus Christ's favorite. That's why you should trust what I have to say. All the persecution I get should tell you that I'm on the right track. The Bible says, all they that live godly in Christ Jesus shall, not might, shall suffer persecution. So it's so important that all the news you hear about, you need to know that all that news and mainstream news, it's all a distraction from the real news, which is the war between me and my men and the Loree McBride Jesuits. As Terrence Jenkins told me, the war between me and Loree McBride and her Jesuits trumps the war between the nations right now. In fact, this war between me and Loree McBride, once it's over, I think we're going to have a type of the millennium on Earth, because the #1 reason for most of the murders on the planet is Loree McBride and her satanic army of Jesuits. Once we defeat Loree, I believe the world will be at peace until the rapture. Jesus said that I and my men will defeat the Jesuits. That makes us super important. The Jesuits have been running the earth since about the 1500s. They are Satan's army. You know, I sense that we may defeat the Loree McBride Jesuits within a year. Once that happens, Brent and I are probably going to get legally married. So my marriage to Brent may be in 2020 or 2021. Once we're married, a type of millennium is going to be on the earth because the Jesuits will be defeated. They're the reason for most of the problems on this planet right now. I think this is Jesus's way of giving the world a taste of his future 1,000-year reign, to give the world a much-needed respite before the horrible 7-year tribulation begins, which will happen sometime after the rapture. The Bible scholars are divided. Some people think it's going to happen, this tribulation is going to happen right after the rapture. Some people think there could be a break. The Bible's not clear on this. Jesus did say that my Christian co-workers at Walmart would definitely be raptured. I last worked at Walmart in 2012. Boy, Satan's attacking my voice. So this tells me that the rapture most definitely will be within the next 25 years. I'm 62 right now. I last worked at Walmart when I was 54. I may live to around age 90 or longer if the rapture delays, because my family tends to live a long time. My grandmother on my mother's side lived to about 102. But I think I'm going to be raptured. So my Christian Walmart co-workers will be raptured. That's what Jesus said. He said he was happy with how they treated me, which means the rapture is going to happen in my lifetime, which would be, since I'm 62, within the next 30 years, folks. So let's say I marry Brent in 2021. Jesus may let me have an earthly marriage with him for around 10 years or so, just to let me reign as empress over the world, kind of like Christ's millennial reign, to give the world a taste of the millennium. This means the rapture might happen around 2031. Now, how soon after the rapture the tribulation starts is speculation. It could start right away. It could take a while. The tribulation starts when the Antichrist signs his peace deal with Israel. Every Bible scholar that's premillennial, pre-trib, which is the correct view, knows that. My guess is the tribulation will start pretty soon after the rapture. So we'll probably be in the tribulation, and I'll be up in heaven and raptured from about 2034 to 2041. The nation of Israel may get saved then around 2041. It happens right at the very end of the trib. Then the 1,000-year reign will start around 2042, 2043, somewhere around there. Jesus has not given us dates, so I'm just guessing, and I could be wrong. But I'm certain that the rapture, the tribulation, the 7-year tribulation, and the 1,000-year reign will happen within the next 50 years for certain, folks. This is a big deal. If you are not ready for the rapture, accept Jesus now before it's too late. Check out the links underneath this page. I have information there on how you can accept Jesus. Folks, the tribulation will not be a picnic. It will be the worst period in all of human history. You're going to have earthquakes that are so bad, I think California is just going to fall right into the ocean. I mean, the earthquakes are going to be so bad, mountains will be falling down. That's what the Bible says. Yes, entire mountains. You're going to have tsunamis. You're going to have tidal waves so big, it's probably going to just drown out the whole state of California. This is during the tribulation, folks. This is what you're going to deal with if you miss out on the rapture and you don't go up. So this is a big deal. This is going to happen really, really soon, folks. Okay? So I'm just telling you, the rapture, based on first of all, I'm a Jesus authority. The real Jesus has been communicating with me. He already told me that my Christian co-workers at Walmart will be raptured. Okay? I'm 62. They're either a little younger or older than me or about my same age. That means it's going to happen probably by 2035. I'm about 95% certain. Okay, we're in 2020 right now. I'm 62. So the rapture is going to happen in my lifetime if my Christian co-workers are going to be raptured. He already said that. So using logic, I can tell. You might say, well, maybe he's talking about your young co-workers. Maybe. But even if it's my young co-workers, it's probably still going to be 2035-ish, somewhere right around there. Are you ready? Have you accepted Jesus as your Savior? Or are you going to play Loree McBride's game? She's going to be defeated. Jesus already said so. It might even be this year. Are you ready? Are you ready for the rapture? You really need to listen to Dr. Andy Wood's message on the rapture. If you're not ready, get ready for hell on wheels, because let me tell you what's going to happen during the rapture. During the rapture, you will lose your salvation if you take the mark of the beast. But if you don't take the mark of the beast, you can't buy or sell. You won't have food to eat. You won't be able to get medical care. You won't. You're going to have to live. You're going to be living like me. You can only eat food. And Jesus said that I and my men are going through what the tribulation saints are going through. Basically, the Loree McBride Jesuits have taken all our money. They've stolen all our money. We're basically just, we've got food and bills. We have our needs met, and that's about it. But I'm happy. I'm in God's will, but it's going to get really bad, folks. Really, really, really bad. Just imagine what it would be like to have like a male version of Loree McBride or Angelina Ballerina ruling the planet with no hindrances practically. And if you take the mark of the beast, if you don't take the mark of the beast, they'll kill you. But if you do take the mark of the beast, you go to hell. That's what it's going to be like. And maybe you should start watching some of these Rapture movies to get a good, healthy scare. Because, folks, it's right around the corner. All I can say is all of you guys that are saying I'm crazy, I'll be waving at you when I go up, and I'll be saying, have fun. Have fun. You laughed at me when I warned you there'd be a rapture. You said I was crazy. Goodbye. On my way up, I'll be waving at you. I'll be saying, have fun. Enjoy your 7-year ride. Enjoy the mountains falling into the sea. Tidal waves taking the whole state of California out. Water turning to blood. Hailstones at least this big coming down from heaven with fire. You know, all those signs and wonders that were in Exodus, that's all going to happen again in the tribulation. It's almost like a repeat of that. And I think Moses and Elijah are going to show up. Then you're going to have 144,000. Christians are going to have to go underground. Yeah, maybe even living in caves. But, you know, if you take the mark and you're respectable, then you suffer the wrath of God. The wrath of God's going to pour out on earth, man, because the church is going to be gone, and there will be no reason for God not to pour his wrath on the planet. And boy, it's going to be bad, man, bad. There'll be creatures coming around with like scorpion stings on their tail that'll sting you to death and kill you. They're going to come out of the bottomless pit. You're going to see strange looking creatures and all these crazy things that are happening to me and my man. They're going to be big, really happening in the tribulation. Oh, yeah, man. There's going to be economic devastation. They're going to, a whole day's wages will buy a loaf of bread. That's what the Bible says. So I'm going to be, when I go up in the rapture, I'll say, there you are. So you said I was crazy. I bet you're not laughing now. You're going to say, oh, what do I do? I didn't go up. I got left behind. Don't you take that mark. You take that mark and you're going to go to hell, buddy. Don't you take that mark. No mark on your right hand or on your forehead. You do, man, you're finished. You go to hell. You say, but if I don't take it, I can't eat. I told you to accept Jesus for the rapture and you didn't listen to me. You said I was crazy because I believed Jesus and all this. You're the one who's crazy. You're going to know how crazy you are when the rapture happens and you're left behind. Have fun, buddy.